Okay, I want to continue on. And last video we discussed the having someone else do it, the pros and cons. So, this might actually end up being something that you do suggest as a best practice for this. It does have things we need to consider, especially the fact that you can get someone else to do it for you, in the sense that you protect your heart that way and your mind. But of course, the cardinal rule of all of this, and let's tack this away somewhere, is that you should never invest any more than you are willing to completely lose. So if you ever invest money that you need to live on right now, you need to understand that there's a very real risk that you'll lose it all. So there is a virtue, if you want to suggest this as a best practice, to start early, to start small, because they will accept small injections of capital. So you can start with 3,000 or 4,000, and then just realize, look, if I'm going to put stuff into this, it's got to be a minimal amount, not things that I need to live on, because you can lose it all. All right. But again, the virtue is someone else's is the wealth of Egypt, right? You should know that metaphor. Now, here's the option. You do it. You do it. So let's discuss what are the sub options here. Okay, you get a full service broker or a discount broker. A full service broker is you call the guy up on the phone or the gal up on the phone, you discuss plans, you discuss choices, and then you have to ultimately give the word how much to buy, when to buy, what to buy. So he is full of advice for you. It's sort of, see, that's why I made this go away too, because the full service broker is going to be doing that for you. But he really can't make decisions for you. You still maintain that part of control, but the thing is, are you as good as he is to know when to buy, what to buy? So the thing about the full service broker is, do you really need him, right? Or her? And the thing is, if for the middle class, all right, if you inject $5,000 to an account, and then you're dealing with a full service broker, and you're going to make a trade, and you're buying now, and you want to sell in a month, and you're hoping to make $100 or whatever. You know that talking to the broker and having him do what he does is going to be at least something like $20 to $30 to make that trade. So, all of a sudden you're not making 100, you're making 70, and you do that every time, and then you realize how hard it is to make money on this. Do you really want to be dishing out those fees? Once you start learning about it, you may as well just go to discount broker. Okay, so this idea is really kind of falling away for the middle class as far as an option for actually using when they want to try to do stock. Unfortunately, the logic of the whole thing, the fees of everything, kind of convinces the middle class that, look, whoa, they end up right here. It's an online platform, okay? So they go on, and if you just go to finance.yahoo.com and you just look at all the ads, all the pop-up ads that appear at the top of the screen, you'll see they're all discount brokers. They say, open an account with us, get 50 free trades, minimum deposit $300 or something like that. And they're basically saying it's just an online platform. We allow you to trade. Now we'll clear the trades for you, but it's all at the touch of your buttons. You do what you need to do, and you're in complete control. You can see the graphs, you can see the spread, you can see the tick marks, you can see all of that. So this is what's happening. People are going here. It's just cheaper. And at the end of the day, what they get here and what they get over here is the same thing they get here through the graphs and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so now what happens when you do the discount broker? You get to watch the stock, you get to see the graphs, you watch the momentum, you buy and sell, and almost always you're going to have a cash account. Okay, so they're very hesitant to let you buy short. You're going to have to pretty much buy long, and by that I mean buy low, sell high. That's the idea. So almost always you're going to have a cash account. You got to put the cash in there, and it's just sitting there, and you play around with that. Excuse me. Now, to get to it would be great if you could write your project to the point where you're right here. Now, you realize this is not the whole paper. This is still the first third of it. Okay. But what do you have to read up on now? You might have to read up on the funds in the banks. Now, I would suggest that you Google something like major mutual funds that have failed, major investment banks that have gone bankrupt, and read about that just a little bit, so that you have a couple names to say, look, if you want to go here, watch out, because the rate, it's very aggressive, it's very risky for a lot of these banks. And history has shown that, although they might do very well, eventually the bigger they get, the more money they have, other people's money they have to play around with. I say that sort of disparagingly, but and I shouldn't. But it just seems that at one point they give in to hubris and greed, and they do too much. They take on too much leverage or debt, and so find out about the banks that have failed, the funds that have failed, so that you can talk about that with some, instead of just, now you need some general statements here, obviously, right? But it would be good to put in some concrete detail, and you got to read about that and find out about it. So here's where in the writing process now, you might have to take a little break, jump back on, find some good sources onto the net, find some good sources that'll give you some concrete detail so that you can help it make sense. There's nothing. Well, one thing that goes a long way to clarify ideas and help someone to make sense of something is just a good old-fashioned concrete example, So if you can find one or two of those things, you might convince them. Now, that you should stay away from these things, or go into this route, or be careful here, or whatnot. Maybe you want to find some examples of the smaller funds that seem to be doing very well and have had a history of great performance, and they're just at the cusp. See, the sad thing is, the small start out small, obviously, and then they do fine until they get big, and then it's like, I don't know. I mean, something happens. They think they're too big to fail, or, well, no, not necessarily that, but they think they can do more than they think they'll never make a bad trade, or I'm being overgeneral there, but maybe you can find some examples of some funds that are still only 5-10 years old and are still, you would still say, have this healthy growth to them. So you need to read about this. And then you might need to read about what goes on with a discount broker. What exactly can you do with this? What does it look like? So you might need to read about how an average middle class person can actually buy into an account and start trading. What are the better discount brokers? What are they offering? So maybe click on some of those ads and see if you can make sense of it. Now remember, you do need to try to write this up. So you have to be willing to do the awkward thing of write without full understanding, and because that might be your case. You might get to this point and say, man, I still don't really get a lot of this, as I feel like I should be getting it. And then Horton wants me to write this up, and well, you know what? Write it up. And then we'll clean out the dark spots later as we keep on going. We'll come back and check it out, and then you learn more as you keep on writing. Come back and fix it. So don't let this feeling of I don't completely understand it right now stop you from writing it out. And you might actually end up with stuff that you're going to cut out and revise later. But you have the virtue of watching the project continually develop, and that itself is going to be an encouragement. So don't ever think that if it develops, it has to develop in a very excellent and almost finished, polished way. Let's see what you can do, getting it down to at least this part right here.